This isn't booting. Come on, baby. So it just flails off the...
We're live. Is this Facebook? Instagram? Where are we at? YouTube. Oh, YouTube. We're on the YouTube, huh? How many people are watching?
None.
None yet? Ah.
One.
Yeah. If they see me, they're all going to turn off. 14 people. Welcome.
50 on Instagram.
50 on Instagram. Yeah. Instagram. There we go. A lot easier.
Hello.
Hello.
Worldwide audience.
Worldwide.
Welcome to Free Fly Systems.
Can somebody... Hey, Phil.
Is there mimosas
Phil?
this morning?
Can you get this guy
That
up
would
and
be
running?
Would mimosas might help.
Mimosas.
Would help
would have been
right now.
wonderful.
What do you guys think? We'll make so many deals.
There should be a
Just
mimosa
booted it up a
station
second
here.
ago.
I think there's a mimosa.
At World
Booted up
Headquarters.
weird.
Yeah,
Which one is, okay.
that's Instagram.
Backup is Nick. I don't even know what you're from. What are you from these days?
That's a good question.
What do you do? He
That's a
works
good
in the
question.
aerial underground.
Yeah.
He's the aerial underground.
I'm just the OG. OG. Number 7.
Gun for hire.
Number 7.
You're the number 7 drone father. If Jeff Scholl is number 1.
Yeah, no, I'm not the true OG, Jeff Scholl. Is Jeff Scholl the true OG? I mean,
No,
who's the true OG? Do you know?
I mean I'm sure there's one that's even more true than this guy. But Emmanuel from Flying Cam.
He is
If you go
he's the
way
true
back,
OG, right?
But there could be even people that I'm unaware of that go before him.
I don't
But
know. You would know
certainly
them, I think.
Flying Cam, when I was like cutting my teeth with this stuff, that's why I was like, wow, those guys are amazing.
And was he 80s or is it not quite that far back? 90s for certain.
There's also Chopper Cam back then too. I think Flying Cam really, if they weren't the first, they were definitely the ones that achieved critical mass in the motion picture industry back then, for sure.
Some crazy stuff back then.
Oh, they're doing amazing stuff. I don't know if you people are familiar with Flying Cam, but you should go back and find as many videos as you can. They were operating back when controllers were still 72 megahertz, and even before then, even other frequencies. And they were doing handoffs where, like if Nick and I were working together on a job, I would fly the helicopter for the first portion of the job, and we would be on radio, and I would turn off my controller at the exact time he would turn on his controller, and they'd have to match inputs so that the helicopter didn't descend or ascend. And keep in mind also, these guys, in some of their earlier iterations, the things they were using didn't have pan of the gimbal. So if Nick and I are working together and we're Flying Cam employees, I'm flying and then he's doing the camera, and I activate a switch which would give him control of the tail rotor. So I have to be a good enough pilot that I can fly the helicopter perfectly while he's changing the tail rotor on me, the yaw of the aircraft. And keep in mind, this is before there's any type of flight augmentation or stability systems. So I'm flying the system completely manually, only with the aid of a flybar. So all you drone kids out there, Johnny come lately, make sure you go look at Flying Cam today, because the work they're doing was just absolutely incredible.
There's so much technology now, and it's all so fantastic, and people are doing so many cool things. But when you really think about what they were doing back then, just that tail rotor switch, that
amazing.
in and of itself is amazing.
It is amazing.
I didn't realize that they were doing that.
Yeah.
And interestingly, that method of transferring control, the one person switching off their transmitter, the other one switching on in a coordinated move like that, that's so kick-ass.
Yeah, well, and you
couldn't even do that today with the bound
No.
systems. That's actually a more graceful solution than if we had to do that today. I don't know how you would do that any better, actually.
Yeah. I mean, the amazing thing is you would have to, if I was flying for the first leg, you would have to phantom fly and try and match the exact inputs I was giving.
Right.
You get to guess at what I was doing with the collective, tail rotor, all this stuff, and then hand off.
It's like the guy at the baseball game at bat. You know, he's like trying to match the hit for his next at bat, but worse.
I don't know what he's talking about at all. Do you get that?
I think so.
Can you explain further?
He's like waiting to be at bat, and he's like, watching the pitcher. He's like, all right, He's like trying not to swing the way his hair is doing.
Oh,
He's just trying to get ready.
it's a sports ball analogy.
Yeah,
that's why
sports.
I don't
I don't
understand
play
it.
baseball or know anything about it. But
You're a sports ball guy, though.
No.
Minimal.
I'm very lame.
But to loop this long discourse back into what we're doing today, I think
Yeah.
it's cool to talk about this because this is the legacy and the interesting stuff that happened in the cinema world that really got me excited about creating things like Carbon, which we're going to discuss today. There's so much legacy surrounding like what Flying Cam's done, and I remember seeing the first Cineflex shots I ever saw, and those played a huge role in inspiring me and the Free Fly team to kind of reimagine what those things might be and what they might do way back when, and kind of pursue this trajectory. So
I don't think it can be said enough how absolutely tremendous it is to have this thing sitting right here in front of us. Because I remember, I think it was 5 years ago, I was at home and I was on the phone with you,
Yeah.
and we were talking about,
he calls me all the time.
I actually did bother him a lot. It's amazing, he still even
One
talks to me.
I do remember one time driving back from a job somewhere far away, and Claudius must have talked to me for 250 miles that day. And I think he asked the same question at least 9 times, just to make sure that the answer was still the same.
You're welcome, actually, for helping you pass the time. That's something only a true friend would do. But at some other point in one of the conversations, we were just talking about the future of Free Fly. This was very early in the history of Free Fly, and I'm like, what is the ultimate goal? And he's like, I want to have a mini Cineflex. And at the time it was like, well, is it possible? And I had all sorts of technical questions. Practical questions, how would you ever miniaturize it? This is all in the context of flying it on a drone or doing handheld.
Yeah.
I've always been more interested in the aerial and the drone aspects. And now, you've achieved it. Free Fly and you have achieved it. So it's unbelievable. And in a relatively short period of time, whenever that call was, it was something like 2013 or maybe 2012. So.
Yeah, I think this is a good. We'll travel back in time to when Free Fly was not even operating out of anywhere, but we aspired to operate out of my mom's garage at this point in our history. And back then, we knew our goal was we wanted to get Cineflex type shots, but from places that only drones could get. And we didn't know how to build gimbals. We didn't know a lot of things back then. So we thought it would be easier actually to build an aircraft to carry a Cineflex rather than to build a very small gimbal that could go on a drone. And so we built this. So Dave and I, this is Dave right here. He looks like he's about 12. In the upstairs of my mom's garage, we built this aircraft, which looks like basically F1 racing struts and then 4 electric helicopters that were designed to spin 700 millimeter to 800 millimeter blades. And our idea originally was we're going to build this, we're going to test fly it, we're going to put a Cineflex underneath, and we're going to be off and running. I'm not sure where we thought we were going to come up with the hundreds of thousands of dollars to acquire the Cineflex, how we thought this was going to be safe, how we thought it was going to work. But that was our plan. You can see this guy right here, he's really thinking forward into the future about how we're going to finance it, fund it, that kind of stuff. This is plywood.
What year was this?
Jeez.
This is like where Jeff Bezos is now. You're way ahead of the game. I'm trying to figure out how to deliver packages, and you guys are like, we've already done that.
This one didn't deliver any packages. Do you remember what year this was, Bill?
13, I think. 13.
Oh, no.
14.
No.
I think earlier.
Before that.
I think it's 2011 or earlier.
Yeah.
Because this is pre-Free Fly. So anyway,
But it's supposed
I remember this was a hilarious day. We had just got it all wired up, and we were spooling it up for the first time. And that's my dad you can hear in the background, harassing Dave and I.
Not impressed.
Yeah, he's not impressed. He's like, back then, he's like, what are you guys doing? So this was the test spool in Mom's garage. Plastic sawhorses. I mean, this, like, space heat, like, we couldn't even afford heat. We got a space heater running over there. It's the dead of winter. And you can see over here, there's a little tail rotor, because Dave and I didn't know how to program the mixing to control yaw, so we thought an easier solution was to just bolt the tail rotor onto the end of one of the things.
Seems logical.
And then
But that was such a magical time. I mean, that kind of tinkering and true technical
we had
creation.
we had no jobs.
You know,
We had nothing but time.
you had nothing but time. But
Nothing but
it's an
time.
amazing airframe. You know, nobody does that now. Granted, there's a lot of off-the-shelf solutions, but that's why I love this time so much, is that there weren't that variety of off-the-shelf stuff. This was the good old days.
Who? Corey? Nick? You've seen it.
Oh yeah,
You've seen
yeah.
this.
But I just love it. This sort of stuff is where the true innovative spirit, I think, from Tab and David, you know, really shines. Because yeah, was it practical? No, not in many ways, but it would have solved the problem.
Can you imagine packing up with this to head out to a job?
Yeah.
Like, don't mind me, I'll be ready in about 9 hours. I have to undo these 600 bolts.
The first question the AD asks is, so how much setup time are you going to need in the morning? You know, yeah, we're going to need 2 days on site.
What this speaks to is how bad we wanted to get shots that were like Cineflex shots, but in places only drones could go. That's how I was obsessed with that idea. I wanted to be in, down in the trees where helicopters could never fly. I wanted to be in the waterfalls, like just these places that you can't go with full-size aircraft because it's too dangerous, too much downwash, whatever. So this is the first.
One more question.
Yeah.
The safety aspects aside,
Yeah.
could that have, do you think that would have had the capacity for a Cineflex?
I think so.
Yeah.
I think this might have done it. We when we designed it, I think we left room to size up in blades if we needed to 800 millimeter blades, and I think with four of the 800 millimeter blades, we would have been really close to pulling it off. You'll see how it turns out, and I'm glad it went this way. So this is first flight in Mom's front yard. We got into a resonance.
Oh no. Very sad.
Done. All done.
Very, very sad.
Oh, this is the worst part. Oh.
Very, very sad.
Oh. Too bad, though. I mean, I should have just taken off and carried on like a Chinook.
Yeah.
So it exploded on its first flight. And that made us go back to the drawing board and say, hey, maybe it's not the best idea to try and lift this 80-pound Cineflex. Maybe instead we should make that type of technology smaller and put it on a more manageable drone. And then I think we can fast forward to this. So this is the very first time that Hugh and I ever filmed with a drone and a gimbal that could actually shoot up to about 100 millimeter focal length. And we went on this job. It was a 3 or 4 day job, and I just remember just falling in love with what you could do with these type of shots, and I was just completely hooked. I was so excited to send this to all my friends back then. So this is right before we launched the original MōVI. So a lot of these shots this was with the Sony FS100 and the stock 18 to 85 lens, and we had rigged up this super janky little zoom controller that ran off of a servo. It's got the patented Sony dynamic range going there, but nonetheless, the shots just blew us away.
Yeah, something no one's seen before.
Yeah, I mean, like
Could never do that with a full-size helicopter.
a lot of these shots, I think honestly it was the first time anybody had made shots like this. It was the first time the stability was good enough that you could do these kind of things. And I just remember how damn exciting it was to show, when I was sending this link around to you back then, Nick, and Jeff Scholl and all my buddies, it was just fantastic to show this stuff.
Absolutely. It holds up to this day. It holds up to this day and looks fantastic.
So we took actually a helicopter to this location. So back to the old design, that would have been fairly impractical with the Cineflex quad.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it was really fun to work with the people we were working with on this because they had never worked with a drone, period, before, I don't think. And then to have this drone that could shoot at 85 mil cruising through these places was just awesome.
It's stunningly beautiful. I remember when you sent me this link and I watched it, I was like, I need this immediately. Absolutely, immediately.
Who was this for?
It was for a GPS map company. And so they overlaid a bunch of stuff on our footage like it was for hunters to know what land they're on while they're hunting, I think. I mean, just like being able to cruise by that guy's head an inch away, it's just awesome. And this was with the original Cinestar 8. Back when we weren't flying these crazy heavy lift machines.
Yeah.
It was just 14 APC, 14-inch prop, so quiet.
Yeah. They were very quiet.
Remember you could take that thing up and just dump the collective, watch it drop like a stone, recover 5 feet off the deck.
Yeah.
It was really a great flying machine.
It really was. Is this video still posted on the Fly Vimeo?
Yep.
Yeah.
So I mean, shots like this, just to be able to start low and wide, climb up, end tight.
Now, the real important thing, though, to note is that, you know, you see this so often now, but back then, this was all, previously it was servo gimbals that would have been the most jittery mess you can imagine.
Yeah, and I mean,
The stability is really what we're showcasing here
and
at that time, and the control.
So I think that's that.
Yeah.
People get it. You can check this out on our Vimeo page if you want. It's called Roam, R-O-A-M. It's pretty fun. But that was a crucial step in leading to this. So after we launched MōVI, we had, got sidetracked with gimbals and drones and then small cinema robots and all kinds of things. But always in the back of our mind, we had the idea to build a very small 5-axis gimbal, and that's exactly what MōVI Carbon is. So it looks similar from the outside to a MōVI Pro with this shroud, but there's actually 2 axes inside which actuate at a very high speed and very precisely to keep the shot perfectly stable, even up to, we don't actually know what the max focal length that we could shoot.
That's interesting.
Stably with this, but I think it would be, it would be very high because so at 240 mil effective with this camera and lens package, we're at sub-pixel stability, depending on the magnitude of the disturbance input, but it's pretty amazing.
And to that point, when I got here a little earlier today, Daniel was showing me that there is a function of the GH5S. There's an additional level of, I think it's like digital, yeah. So just for the pure purposes of testing out the smoothness and stability, it was some greater amount than 240 and very stable. So that would be interesting.
Utilize it in a different way besides just cinema, but for the guys out there that are doing surveillance or, surveying power lines, inspections, things like that. Now you have a tool that can be used for both things. So it's pretty awesome.
So I thought we'd just let's do an overview of what's in this thing, the different parts of it. We'll just talk through, you guys haven't spent a lot of time with it yet, so I just thought I'd talk through with both of you. If you have any questions, feel free to lodge them. And then I'll teach you how to use it and we'll start shooting with it.
Yeah, that sounds fantastic.
All right, so this is the camera package that is in Carbon. And we can show it's fully integrated. And so the reason that you can't swap out camera and lens is because we built this thing to be as small and lightweight as possible, so that the whole thing with Carbon is it was important to us that it be able to fly on an Alta 8 and that people be able to carry it handheld. And so that means we cannot go over the 20-pound limit. It must be under 20 pounds. And so we know what our weight budget is, and we want it to be the most stunning image quality that we can achieve for that. So after a lot of testing, we ended up with GH5S and the Fuji 20-120. And so this is built into a sled. We've clamped the lens here for stability. Yeah. You can see the focus, iris, and zoom system here. These run to these little focus, iris, and zoom motors. Those are just cordless DC motors. They're packaged in extremely tightly.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, Hugh. There's power coming off of this to power the camera, and then we've got camera controls via USB or camera start-stop, that kind of thing. We've got an additional IMU here, which...
That's fascinating.
Yeah. So this is a quality IMU with very low drift. So it's really important when you're shooting at 240 plus millimeter that you have very low drift, because drift makes it very hard to control.
Of course.
And so Carbon uses a dual IMU setup where Pro, which is good in some ways, and then we have this additional IMU, which is good to counter drift. And you'll notice once we start operating how low the drift is. It's not as good as like a fog would be on a MōVI XL,
Okay.
but it's much better for drift characteristics than other ones.
Okay.
So we can pop this lens cover off. And then on the front, we've got the Schneider ND system. So we went with that because it's really, really low profile. Allows us to run ND or UV without any bullshit on the front of this thing.
Yeah.
And you got a full set of NDs
Yep.
with the package. Right?
Yeah, it's included with Carbon.
I mean, the 20-120 from Fuji has been our go-to for so much in the last year. Having that lens, a full cinema quality lens, and
Yep.
that focal length, it's going to be insane. What
So
people are gonna be able to do with
some of the design considerations here, one thing we didn't talk about, GH5S is the camera. And so some of the design considerations you'll see here, we've got really, really stiff aluminum structures, but they're as hogged out as they possibly can be. So we want things to be as light as possible, but they have to be stiff enough that we can achieve our performance targets. You can see the whole package is triangulated on top and bottom. We've clamped the lens here, so it's totally stable, not going anywhere.
Yeah.
Ported kind of anywhere and everywhere we can. And then we build this nice little to just drop right into Carbon. So the next step would be when we're building this, we would drop it into Carbon, and then we have a balancing procedure to get it as perfectly balanced in the inner axis as possible.
Okay.
Because the quality to which this thing performs is going to depend on how fast our system can respond and then how well balanced it is.
Yeah.
Because the way you can think about it is there's passive and active stabilization. So
Yeah.
passive stabilization, let's say if we were to put this in Carbon, the bearings had no friction, there was no wind, there was no external forces,
Yeah.
and then we were to shake the gimbal, nothing would translate through because there'd be no way for it to impart an acceleration. That's not the case. The bearings have friction and there's wind and all the disturbances. So that's where the active part of the control loop comes in and fixes a lot of those things to make sure that we have nice stable shots.
Right.
So
It's a jewel of engineering right here.
yeah, it really is.
It's really a beautiful little package. And fundamentally, what we have here is 5-axis stability.
Yeah. So we've got the normal pan, roll, tilt of a MōVI Pro, and then you can picture inside there are limited range pan and tilt axes. So as this thing's working, the outer axes on the MōVI Pro are stabilizing in pan, tilt, and roll, and then these guys are working extremely fast and precisely to take out all that little shake.
Yeah.
So,
Which has always been the holy grail of all of our gimbals.
exactly. So this we've taken inspiration and kind of the enthusiasm from a lot of the other companies that have made big gimbals like this for helicopters, full-size helicopters. We're in love with the perspective and the type of shots that those allow, but we wanted to be able to handheld and fly it on a drone.
Yeah.
So this thing fully ready to shoot is under 20 pounds, which
The level of miniaturization
yeah,
is that's really impressive.
Honey, I Shrunk the Gimbal.
exactly.
I shrunk the gimbal.
Yeah.
And it's
Sorry.
go ahead.
I was saying, I think one of the really cool things too right away is like for everybody out there that's already users of MōVI Pro, out anywhere along the ecosystem, it's going to be very easy to use. You already know how to use it, so it's literally pull it out of the case, you're ready to go. I mean, there's not going to be a huge learning curve as if you had to buy a whole new system and learn a shot over a Cineflex or any other big gimbals. Like this is, the simplicity is amazing. So
Yeah, it's
the
excellent.
learning curve is going to be incredible.
In a funny way, it's almost easier than MōVI Pro because when you turn it on, there's no balancing. It's already pre-balanced, it's ready to go. The Fizz system auto cals as soon as you turn it on, which is kind of a nice. We should maybe add that to MōVI Pro.
Probably, actually, yeah.
So that's cool. So you just power it up and you're ready to shoot a few minutes later. I wanted to mention one other thing about the camera package. I don't know what it was. You had something that you'd mentioned earlier that was interesting.
Oh, I just love the craftsmanship and the integration, how tight it is, and it's super rigid, which is always the friend of stability. Is we've done so many things over the years. In the earliest gimbals, we were wedging foam blocks into gaps and
tape wedges.
I mean, it was to achieve the most rigid structure. And now here, finally, it's a completely proper and fully engineered solution that's truly rigid. I love it. I just love to look at it. It's so well done.
No MōVI tricks needed.
Yeah, no MōVI tricks needed.
Needed for optimal stabilization.
If you guys only knew the tricks needed on the early ones.
Oh, Lord.
So the tuning and everything is it's already done when you remove it from its case. It's all optimally set, and you don't do anything except
No
use
auto
it.
tuning needed, nothing
No.
like that. It's just turn it on and go.
Yep.
That's pretty cool.
So there's basically some tuning values for the inner axes, which we set here, and then there's tuning values for the outer axes, which we set here.
Yeah.
The outer axes become a little bit less important when you have the inner axes handling kind of the brunt of the work when it comes to stabilization.
Right.
So I think at this point, this guy's turned on and warmed up. Oh, one interesting thing. There is, for this sensor on the bottom, there is a warm-up period. So to achieve kind of optimal performance from this guy, it takes about 6 minutes to warm up. The performance is still great even when it's warming up, but it won't quite be as good as it is when you get 6 minutes in. So I just try and work that into my workflow and power this thing up.
Same as drone, you want to acquire as many satellites as possible. You want to let it, bake.
Exactly.
Longer you can let it sit, the better.
Yeah, so as far as kind of back to the MōVI Pro stuff, this will slot right in with the MōVI Pro ecosystem, which was important to us because we wanted people there's a ton of people out there who have built a lot of experience, and like, you guys, I want it to be as seamless as possible for you guys to pick this up and use it. So use the same toad in the whole quick release. Landing gear mounts in the same way that you're used to. The control inputs, the GCU is all very similar, so.
Now, T, when you're operating this system
Yeah,
and you are fully zoomed in,
yeah.
it is more challenging to operate at those kind of focal lengths.
For sure. And it showcases any weakness in the system at all. Like the joystick has to be perfectly calibrated. Everything's got to be working properly because operating at 240 mil is just super demanding. So we have built in a feature that we call zoom rate scaling on the newest release of the MōVI controller. And so what that allows you to do is it automatically will scale your rates in a way that you can define as you zoom in.
Huge feature.
Yeah, so I'll show you.
Very similar to big gimbals, has the same thing when you're operating. You don't want a direct one-to-one input,
Right. Because at like 1,000.
Especially, 1,000 millimeter, and you're bouncing around a helicopter turbulence. It's, it's insane.
So I can. So I'll show you guys on this one. I mean, there's not really too much to show. You're going to pick it up almost instantly, but I'll show you the zoom rate scaling feature.
What is this controller controlling?
So it's controlling the carbon up on the cable cam.
Oh,
so
we have a cable cam carbon?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Nice.
We can drive this guy around a little bit.
That's perfect. What is that carbon attached to?
It's the Defy dactyl cam.
Very nice.
Expertly rigged in our warehouse.
I have no doubt. By Hugh Bell, perhaps?
Let's hope not. It's going right over Assad's head.
Yeah, see what happens here.
Okay, great.
Right there.
Unknown. Unknown.
Just keep it right above you.
If it's dropping anything, it's the whole system. Don't worry.
Yeah.
All right. So I'll show
There we go.
you, Nick. So the parameter I was talking about, zoom rate scaling,
Yes.
you can control it such that it could be just like where when you zoom in, it doesn't change anything. And so I can show you here. So when I pan wide, it's that speed. That's a full stick pan.
Yeah.
And then when I punch in, it's the same thing. It's just way too fast. So you can have it so that the rate based on the angle of view stays the same as you zoom in, which works out to be about a setting of 73 or so on this, I think. And so you can see, you know, there's my full rate as I go there. And then when I zoom in, if I go full rate, it's the same speed. And then you can change it on the fly such that, let's say that I know I'm going to have a shot where I need good rates when I'm wide, but I know when I'm going to be punched in that I want really, really fine control. So I'll run that up almost to 92. So that's my speed when I'm fully wide.
Yes.
And then when I punch in, that's now my full rate. So give that a try and feel how it feels wide and zoomed so you can get a sense of how the zoom rate scaling. And then you can run this number up or down. The fully zoomed portion will get slower as you approach 100. And it'll get faster as you approach 0.
Okay, fantastic. So now, when we are fully zoomed, we have a nice docile,
Yeah, I mean, it's super,
smooth
super
control
precise.
feel. Yeah, that's.
And also,
that's
like, if you can just go hands off for a sec, just drift check.
Yes.
So this will give you an idea. The cable cam's swinging around a little bit. You can see some translation.
Yeah, just some translation.
But it
yeah.
should be very, very, very low drift.
Yes.
Not as great as the fog, not as, but very, very low. And I think, you know, we would love to have a fog in this thing if possible, but they're huge and heavy and also super expensive. So
Honestly, not incredibly needed though in a system like this. I mean,
yeah. You want to drive him about a little bit, Corey?
Yeah.
So Corey's driving the cable cam.
Let me widen out to find.
Charles.
We have lovely Charles there.
You can check on people's screens and see what they're doing. See, look, he's got a delay, so he just realized we're creeping on him.
Yeah.
Is Daniel on Facebook?
Checking out cat videos.
Look at that guy.
Look at-
Just chomping. Just chomping.
At the end here, we're gonna come back.
Danielception.
Daniel looks like $1 trillion. He's all right. He's all right.
Watching the live.
There's Jelly Bean.
Jelly. Oh, a toaster. That's awesome. Look at that sucker.
Get that thing in focus, Nick.
I know. This is why I don't operate camera.
I'm like trying to turn.
You want me to take the scaling down a little bit so you have,
Well, I mean, it's
try that. So that'll keep the rate constant.
okay.
What's that?
I was trying to operate this to like turn.
Oh.
Get that toaster in.
It just the gimbal feel and dynamics are wonderful.
Okay, we'll come back slow.
I mean, you're so directly connected to the camera now, the way the system works, it should just, you know, if it's not doing exactly what you want it to do, something's wrong. You just need to practice more usually. Like, I'm definitely the weak link in the system when I operate.
Well, most certainly I am in this case. So the GH5S is a three. The sensor size is
It's micro four
Micro Four
thirds. So it's roughly 2 times.
roughly 2 times.
So this is roughly equivalent to a 40, and this is roughly equivalent to a 240.
240. Yeah. Okay. Okay.
You want to try, Corey?
Sure.
Yeah.
And you can see
Let's get a real
we can
camera
creep.
operator on there.
We can creep on Thomas. Thomas is actually building a
Nick, you
carbon
wanna
right
take
now.
that? I'll take
And
that
Sean.
sucker.
So
Yeah.
they're building one.
Let's check this thing out.
What's that?
It's very meta. We're using the carbon
To film carbon.
to film carbon.
You.
Look at those guys. 2 talented dudes right there.
Yeah.
Part of the big brain
I'll come back.
repertoire of free fly. Yeah. Here we go. I'll come back.
Oh no, Class is driving the cable.
Uh-oh. Wrong way.
Sorry,
There
Corey.
we go.
Oh yeah. Look at that. You think they're actually building it, or is this just their setup?
I think they've been planning this all day.
Look how intently Sean's staring.
I know.
That can't be real.
No, it is. He always is that way. That dude's focused as a laser.
Ooh, what's some knifey focus there on that thing.
That's awesome.
I'm going to pull it out to reveal how much of the... I mean, I love having the 240 equivalent. It's so much more important than having everything on the wide end because that's what it's all about is these long lens shots. It's going to be awesome.
It is amazing that we're shooting at 240.
It's insane.
Yeah. It just is.
Never been able to do that with anything remotely this size.
Get it going a little faster, Nick. There you go.
Yeah.
It has a speed.
Little resonance, yeah.
I love the beat back in there.
The what?
The Honda just tucked back
Oh,
in
yeah,
there.
yeah.
Like, what is
Look
that
at
doing
that
there?
thing. Look at that. Boom. What is that?
We need somebody to jump in. Where's Dave?
Yeah, where's Davey? Man?
Seattle Dave.
If people aren't tripping out right now, I don't know what can
So-
get people. I mean, that's ridiculous.
The other thing to mention is you can control on the MōVI controller, you can control the zoom speed. So you can set this up however you like. Like if you're doing ultra slow scenic aerials, you can set the MōVI controller up in a certain way that'll help you do that.
Which you would want.
Exactly, yeah.
So that's good, very good.
Yep.
Yeah, like I have the zoom control almost to 0 here. You can set it where you need it, especially in these big long moves.
Yeah, so I think, we shot with the first generation Carbon, we shot bumper shoot together.
Yeah.
I'm thinking like, that type of thing with this would be really fun.
It's going to be amazing. Especially, I mean,
That concert stuff looked great, by the way.
yeah, concerts, car commercials, all that stuff. I mean, being able to go focal lengths that you'd never been able to do. I mean,
That was our early prototype unit, right?
yeah.
Yeah, yeah. That might be a good thing to talk about.
Been
Talk
working
about
on
how
this
we
for a
got-
bit.
How we got to this stage. So originally, when we first conceived Carbon, we were going to use the Sony A7S and 24 to 240 Sony lens, and we built a prototype. It worked great. We really liked it. We took it on a shoot with you guys to test, and then we found out that Sony was coming out with the A7S II, which was going to record 4K internally, and we were really excited about that. So we decided to shoehorn that in the gimbal. And then we ran into a bunch of issues with the Sony sensor because they added sensor stabilization on the A7S II, and so when
fighting each other
yeah
a
when
little
you
bit, yeah.
well when you get any type of shock, like let's say we put this on the Razor and drove with it, the sensor would let go at a certain acceleration and it would move and it would completely destroy the stability of the shot. So the overall camera package was staying perfectly stable, but when the sensor would get that acceleration, it created footage that we just weren't happy with. And there are also some issues that we uncovered with the lens that made us not super excited about it. So that kind of meant a full-blown reset. We went back to the drawing board and said, what else could we consider that would allow us to stay under our weight budget? And then came up with GH5S, which has no sensor nonsense. It's just sensor mounted in camera like it should be. And then the Fuji 20 to 120 wasn't exactly the range that we wanted, but we think it's a really compelling range, and it still allowed us to hit our weight budget, which was great.
Right now in the market, I don't think there's a better lens in that focal length out there for weight, quality, image, the look of it, everything like that. I
Do
mean,
you have one of these?
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you're
yeah,
already familiar with it?
I'm
and-
super familiar. We use it on MōVI Pro now for tons of stuff, all the cable cam work. I
Okay.
mean, yeah, you have to counterbalance a little bit, but that's like, for car commercials, that's our go-to
Okay.
lens, so
Nice.
love that thing.
How do you guys picture using this thing? Like what shots do you have dreamed up?
Man,
You want to come back over here, Class?
Yeah.
Thanks. He's hard. He's a tough man to contain.
yeah.
Yeah.
He does what he wants.
Shifty.
Number one, the aerial market's going to be ridiculous because the zoom capabilities that you're going to be able to do, I mean, being able to fly something like that is insane. You're going to be able to do shots that no one's ever seen before.
Yeah.
I mean, I think on cable cam, MōVI XL you can put some really big glass on there so you can achieve similar things, but you're talking major setups, major rigging, safety concerns. This in a lightweight setup, we can get our cable cam going 45, 50 miles an hour with a small setup,
Yep.
as opposed to the XL can't be sped at that speed. So it's going to be, people pull it out of the box, a production standpoint of almost zero pre-setup.
Love that aspect.
Yeah, I mean,
That- so
80s
that-
in production are
love
going to
That
love
was
that.
a deal breaker for me when we built this. I just wanted no bullshit. Like,
Yeah.
no power conditioners, no nothing, completely wireless. You pop 2 batteries on it and you go. It has to be that way. And it has to be lightweight so that I don't have to cart around a drone, which takes 12S batteries. It takes me 2 hours to recharge between shots. Like, you know how this is, Nick. You get a little bit bigger on the camera package, and then the drone has to get a little bit bigger, and then you need a little bit bigger batteries, and then you need a little bit bigger generator, and then you need a little bit bigger car. And pretty soon, this like ultra lightweight compact setup that you love traveling with has become just this monstrous thing where you end up charging some outrageous thing just because it's such a pain in the ass that you really don't want to do it, you know?
And that's the exact state of the industry right now.
Yeah.
You know, and that's why I think the Alta 8 continues to be as successful and as critical as it is, because we could always use more, but yet for that size and capability, it's still the sweet spot. You know, it really is optimal, and then it dovetails into being able to fly this. And what I think is really going to be the most compelling thing, and what would excite me the most is, you know, everyone loves cool, nice parallax type shots, and to have these focal lengths available now at that level of stability, it'll be very fun to see what we can do and capture.
A lot of new stuff's a lot of new shots you haven't seen are gonna start popping up, for sure.
Because, you know, the truth is that once you got over 85 mils, you know, you could post stabilize it and it would be okay, but it wasn't where we're all used to at the,
Yeah.
you know, obviously between 20 and you know, like 50 or 65 mils, where it's acceptable and cool and great. But what I'm gonna really wanna do is, now none of the guys I'm using to operate camera are gonna love it, but I'm gonna wanna be at 240 all the time and just, you know, just see what we can get.
Let's go fly this thing.
Yeah.
Serious.
Just on a side note, how upset does it make you that I'm going to have a pretty awesome 240 mil show reel prior to yours?
No. I've already spoken with Megan, and I already have one in my truck.
Yeah.
So actually, I gotta go, guys. So.
Later.
I just want to touch on the weight topic. I know it seems, we're talking about weight. The grams on this thing, you really have to battle grams on every part of this in order to achieve a weight target that would have allowed us to fly it on Alta. And I mean, you can, as you dig into the detail here, just everything has been as hogged out as it possibly can. And I don't know if people quite understand what a pain in the ass that is, and also how important it is, because if you can fly this on an Alta 8, it means you don't have to be a huge heavy lifter. And the Alta 8 is awesome. It goes in its tiny little case. It goes in the back of the car. You carry your batteries. Like, there's the overall workflow that presents itself as things get bigger and heavier. It's just different. You know, it's like the XL is great, but when you go out with XL, it's a big, you know, it means trailer and extra people, and there's a lot of stuff. But when you go out with
kick-ass, but it's a production.
When you go out with a MōVI Pro, I mean, you can head out in whatever shishi automobile of the day Hugh Bell drives, whatever version of Audi he's got, you chuck the MōVI Pro in the back and you're on the road.
Exactly.
You don't need a huge truck, you know. So this fits into that workflow, which I really like.
It's also
Hugh didn't like that comment at all.
I mean, now we have an option available that didn't even exist before. So
Yes.
it's a whole new paradigm right here, that's cool just in and of itself.
I think going back to our history, those are the things that excite me going forward, is where, like, version 2s of things, we're making it a little bit better, but people don't really notice. Not super exciting to me, but where you've created an entirely new space in which people can operate, that's really exciting. Like, you know, we're going to see a bunch of shots in the 40 to 240 range from drones that just haven't been done before.
Yeah.
Which, you know,
That's where things are gonna get.
and there's not really that many spaces like that left in cinema where things haven't been done, just because people have been doing this for a long time. They're really passionate people. Look at the amount of money spent to develop this tech industry-wide, from shot over Cineflex, Cinemoves, you know, Oculus, people are willing to put so much effort in to just expand the envelope, like, a little bit more, 1 or 2 degrees more. So when you do get these moments where you can, you know, punch the corner out quite a bit more and expand what the industry can do, it's pretty awesome. And that's happening all the time with cameras and lenses and everything. You know, it's just like, pretty soon you're going to be able to do absolutely any shot that you can dream of.
All those, the examples you just cited, they're all fantastic units, but they're all larger.
Yeah.
You know, what's so one of the many impressive aspects of this is that, it is in such a small, lightweight package. I mean,
And so many productions are scaling down. I mean, everybody wants smaller packages, wants more affordable options. I mean, even at the price tag of this, what you're able to offer your clients at a really, really high level for way cheaper than what they're normally used to paying. You're going to be able to utilize this more than, at first I was scared about using a Micro Four Thirds DSLR camera, but when you see the specs on it match with that lens and the stability and the cost, I mean, people aren't gonna be able to touch you.
Corey, that's actually why we put a shroud on this.
Yeah.
It was for you.
I know.
So when somebody asks you, you just tell them there's Alexa Mini in there, and don't
perfect.
talk about it. And then
It's like, do you like the shot? Yes or no?
Exactly.
Yeah.
That takes me back to the helicopter days, because back then we could never fly the cameras that people wanted. So you always had to have this conversation of like, I must have had this conversation back in my helicopter days, 10,000 times. Can you fly the Alexa? Nope, can't fly the Alexa.
I remember that very well.
For such a long time.
I'll
Nope,
never
can't do
forget
that. Can you fly the red one? Nope, can't fly the red one.
I remember when you flew the Red One for the first time. I mean, it was like, holy shit.
It's terrifying.
Now everybody's flying fucking Reds and it's no big deal, but back then that was holy shit.
Yeah.
Look at how long it's been, not that long, and look at how far you've come, a really far way. I imagine you're pretty damn proud of the achievement and free fly because
mostly just hungover.
Well, he was married very recently, by the way.
I'm kidding. I'm not hungover.
Two mimosas.
But still, congratulations once again.
Thanks. Do we want to hit Q&A? Well, I thought two things. We should get the land shark over here so people can see one kind of innovative use case that we've come up with for it. So Cindy, if you can scramble the land shark to come over here.
Great.
That'd
And
be
in your Q&A, you have a tab there on here.
awesome. I'm sure we forgot to talk about something.
I think we'll cover it in the Q&As.
Well, first of all, are they available?
Yes, I don't know exactly when they'll ship out, but we just made the website available to put your deposit down. And then we'll be publishing a build schedule based upon how many people want these things, to show how many we can deliver on what timeline. We didn't attack this thing with like the manufacturing volume that we attacked this thing, obviously, because the market is just much smaller. It's a hand-built and specialty item, as you can see. You want to go over and see Thomas build one? Is that good?
Oh, that's a good idea.
Okay, let's go check it out. You can see how these things are built in our factory/office in Woodinville while they get the land shark. Is Dave here? Oh. Huh. So you can just do an overview, Hugh, of like the different parts and pieces here. What build notes do you have for us, Thomas? Sean, you look very serious in our long lens shot. Was that staged or is that real? Was Thomas nudging you saying look serious?
Just wanting to memorize the wiring.
Look cool. Look cool.
We're waiting for the little mic that you can use.
Oh, okay. Did I forget it over there? Whoopsie.
Just so you know.
Okay.
They're not going to be able to.
Uh-oh.
Green shirt.
Uh-oh. Look out.
Oh, God.
Daniel, why don't you go get carbon on that? Okay.
That was like the most popular thing at Cine Gear.
Yeah.
Like everybody just wanted to drive that thing.
Here, this is for you. Talk to us about building the carbon. How long does it take? What's the biggest pain in the butt? What are the things that you've encountered which have frustrated you? Ethan, cover your ears, earmuffs. I don't know if you're going to want to hear any of this.
So a lot of the hard work from the mechanical standpoint
that sound
was
good?
done. It's completed. The design was painstakingly improvised and made a lot better. And now the hard work is the embedded side, the software, getting the tuning figured out. Ethan is working hard on that, and this is our second carbon of in the past 2 days that we've built up, and Sean and I are training the production team.
Nice.
And yeah.
Sean, what kind of
Going well.
specialized tools and tips do you have for folks? I see you got some Loctite in the contact case.
Yep. That's definitely a pro tip, along with the little blue
shop towel squares.
Look at that.
This is a true pro tip.
Yeah.
It really can't be
And
overstated.
then this is a cool handle. You can take power driver tips, put them in a torque wrench.
Oh, Hootie, of course.
That's awesome.
That is
So
awesome.
for people that don't know, that's a digital in Seattle. It was beautiful before this.
It has been beautiful. Yeah.
I just want to show one of these parts, just so people understand how lightweight everything is. So this. So you can see these pieces are just basically carved out of aluminum for people that haven't, done this type of thing before.
Can I feel the weight of that?
Yeah, and then this.
Yeah, I got it.
This is a
No.
true expert operator.
Cine gear expert right
How,
here.
so if you were at notice Daniel.
It was fun.
Yeah?
I like this.
Did you have any unexpected?
Well, don't realize it's on, and they grab the handlebar and twist the throttle by accident, and then it takes off. We had that happen twice, so that was the only issue. No crashes, though. No actual crashes with carbon on it.
People are going to ask, what is that?
Yeah, it's a
Everybody asks.
So
Kuberg.
It's a Kuberg electric bike, and then I thought we could publish the designs for this if people want to make their own, or maybe potentially we'll make some of them. But we built a clamp system which allows you to clamp onto the Kuberg and then mount the black arm. So this is just built out of machine components and some carbon to reinforce it, and it's kind of sized such that you won't get the carbon into the front tire unless you're doing something just outrageous. So it's pretty awesome, and you could extend this mount up if you want a little more clearance.
Yeah.
We just didn't want it to get too close to people's face, but yeah. So we've had this thing going, I don't know, what, 30 miles an hour probably.
Yeah, it
And
rips.
It's great, and you can also hook a trailer. We hook a trailer up with a little bike trailer that Hugh rides in while he's operating MōVI controller. So you're a fully self-contained little camera car that can go just about anywhere. I mean, like, we were going to take this thing for a lap around Green Lake, just hilarious stuff. You can get into places that are
the
really,
buggies that your children are supposed to go inside of, and you're pulling in, just full-size humans,
which
adults.
is, you
It's
really
great.
got
You're
to.
enclosed, it's dark, it's perfect.
You also, when you start working with systems like this, it'll tell you how much of an ego your DP has.
Yes.
When you tell him that he has to go in the bike trailer to operate the MōVI controller.
So good.
A child bike trailer.
Child
yeah.
bike trailer.
It has a cup holder, I think.
Yeah,
So.
it's perfect. Fans.
Yeah. All right. Thanks, Daniel. Let's run through Q&A. Do you guys have any questions first? Will you bring that carbon back when you're done with it?
Yes.
Thank you, sir. Do you want to keep that mic for the remainder of the day? Or? Okay. Any questions from you? You've always got the hard-hitting questions.
Yeah.
Or you.
I'm pretty soft, but they'll come along as we go through Q&A.
He waits till later to hit you with the hard ones. You get a call from him Thursday at 7 p.m.
How long has it taken to perfect this to this state? Like,
200 years. We've been working on it for the last 200 years.
200 years.
No, I think we're 2+ years into it at this point. And the frustrating part looking back was, like, the core technology worked great and was very solid early on, but we got just sidetracked with these lens and camera issues for way too long looking backwards.
Yeah.
Letting technology catch up,
Yeah.
essentially.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One thing we didn't talk about is this is actually one of the first products that we're using quite a few 3D printed parts on for production.
Is that what this is?
Yeah, this is a 3D printed cover. And I wanted to explain a little bit behind why we chose to do that. 3D printed parts allow us to skip having to injection mold plastic parts, which typically adds, best case scenario, it's going to add 8 weeks to the timeline. And then the ability to make extremely complex shapes, like a lot of times with injection molded tools, you can't make any shape you want. Whereas with 3D printed parts, you can. And there's been some advances in 3D printers lately, which allow parts that function just about as well as actual molded parts to be made for costs that are, acceptable for a product like this. So we've 3D printed the entire shroud And then a lot of the accessory parts that keep wires in place, and obviously all the structural stuff is aluminum because it's got to be very, very stiff and strong.
Yes.
But a lot of the other stuff we've protected wires and hid stuff away with 3D printed parts, which has been really great. Allows you to iterate really fast, create super complex shapes. Like you wouldn't be able to make this shape, some features of it, if you were molding it.
Well, the finish and fit of these things, it's very impressive.
Yeah,
It looks fantastic.
yeah, it's really cool.
3D printed.
3D printed.
Right here in the shop?
Not here. We don't
Okay.
have this printer. This is
Okay.
a really high-end fusion multi-jet printer, I think.
It looks, the surface finish
Yeah.
is beautiful, actually.
That's pretty cool because it allows you to iterate really quickly. Like, if you were to make this, let's say you made this in a carbon enclosure and you mess up and you don't get the aerodynamics quite right, it's a huge deal. I mean, the mold is going to take 8 weeks to make. It's going to take weeks to get your first article samples. So it provides a really nice option to accelerate the product development timeline. And the thing I think about always, as thinking from the customer seat, like, would you rather have a carbon shell on this and wait an additional 4 months, or would you like to leave today with this 3D printed one? And I know the way I always go, and I think it's the same way that you go. I'd like to leave today even if this thing doesn't have a shell on it. I want to go shoot with
You want
it.
to start shooting right
Yeah.
away.
Speaking of the shape and aerodynamics,
Yeah.
how fast have you guys had this thing going in your trials and stuff?
Well, I don't know if I'm allowed to say because some of the testing happened on public roads in the X5, but I would say, depending on the pose that you're shooting in, you can expect, and if you use the velocity kit, you can expect this thing to reliably shoot up to 60 miles an hour.
Oh,
So
fantastic.
45 to 60 mile an hour range is where you'll start to get issues depending on the pose. I have had the thing up to 130 in different poses, but you can definitely get aerodynamic impacts at that speed if it's not perfectly tuned. So,
That's great.
but we did get a few seconds of good shots at 130. So
Great.
Was
What
that at the
about-
track?
that was on
was that at the
that was
track?
on a closed course.
Yeah, yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Cool.
Will there ever be any sort of shroud to put over the back, or will it affect to help with any, not weatherproofing, but as far as weather resistance?
Yeah, I think we don't have any plans to do it right now, but certainly there could, or you could just seal it
Yeah,
up
seal it
yourself
up.
if you wanted to.
Yeah.
But the reason we left it open is because we know people would want quick access to the
Exactly.
camera controls, and it would be really frustrating if you had to do that every single time.
And as far as camera controls go, that leads another question: is will there be full camera control at the GH5S?
I am not sure. We're exploring full camera controls over PTP with the GH5, which I think we will build in the future.
What is PTP?
It's some protocol that you can communicate to the camera with, like a USB protocol. So you can plug in a USB and then have access to a bunch of controls if Panasonic lets you. But
like,
just
like Red's.
yeah,
Yeah, I have the same red protocol.
That's cool.
similar thing.
But
So,
shipping now, you have controlled iris and run stop.
yeah, focus,
now.
iris,
Focus,
zoom,
iris, zoom,
and then
stop.
run stop.
Perfect.
Yep. Hi, Dave.
It's David.
Chipotle.
It's
Nice.
you.
How's it going?
What you got a tripod with you?
Tripods, cameras,
Drills?
drills,
Wow.
the whole deal.
I can only
Renaissance man.
imagine what's been innovated.
I can only imagine what he's been doing.
He's a true,
Yeah.
a true Renaissance man.
Do you want to run through some questions?
Yeah,
Okay, what
absolutely.
lens is it and does it use fizz motors? It's the Fujinon 20 to 120, and yes, it does use fizz motors. It's got these three little gems right here that are very, very tiny coreless DC motors, and they control the focus, iris, zoom very nicely.
Another thing that's cool on this lens is it does have back focus adjustment.
Yeah.
So if you are ever in a situation, say you're shooting at like the 40 mil and you want to do close-up shots in more macro world, you can adjust. You have to be careful so you don't throw it out of whack, but you can adjust the back focus to help you get closer to macro shots. So another thing that makes the lens even more versatile, which
Yeah.
is really cool.
And we set back focus before sending them out.
Yeah.
So it's all dialed in. What kind of camera controls do you have? We just went over that. So when we ship, it'll just be run stop. And we might incorporate PTP camera controls, which would open up just a ton of different options to control remotely via MōVI controller. How do you access every single camera setting? You access them via the camera. Can you kill for a second, Corey? So you can just when the MōVI Carbon is killed, you can just manipulate these axes and jump in here and adjust anything you want to on the camera. One thing we didn't talk about that's kind of cool is there's this guy here, and that just pins the inner axes, holds them solid for shipping.
Yeah.
So the thing won't rattle around and shake on you when it's in the case. We were worried about things getting potentially damaged that. So
For sure.
you just grab that, pull it out when you're ready to go, and then the inner axis is free again. You're ready to go. Here, you can go live again.
Yep.
Okay. What are the top speeds with Carbon? We just touched on that too. 45 to 60 mile an hour range is going to be somewhere in there is going to be your top speed depending on your setup. You'll just want to think about where you position things so that depending on the way you're shooting, it's not creating a bunch of unnecessary drag. For instance, if you were to mount a wireless transmitter back here like this and you wanted to do a profile shot, you'd be making a ton of drag. So just something to think about.
Yeah.
Future payload options. Right now, there are no future payload options for this, but this really represents the first in what I think will be a long line of 5-axis and 6-axis gimbals in a fairly broad size range. So I don't think we'll go smaller than this anytime soon, but I think we will explore 5 and 6-axis gimbals larger than this in the future. So,
Which is killer.
yeah. I just flew up to San Juan Island recently, and I was thinking how nice it would be to have one of these with a red mounted to it, mounted underneath the wing of the seaplane. That would have been very, very fun.
I would like one of these with a red mounted to it as well.
Here we go.
That's good.
Can we extend past 240 mil? Not presently. I think the system could do it fairly easily, but the lens, this payload is completely built in, and their max focal range is 240.
But
With digital.
let me reiterate what Daniel showed me, because
Yeah.
it was like in a non-cinema
Thing that I don't know the answer to, it's possible maybe that you could control digital zoom via PTP. So if people had a use case where they wanted extra zoom and it was okay to have it be digital, it might be something we could do. I'm not sure. Hours, those 2 batteries will run the system 3 hours, powering everything and the camera.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Power draw is much lower.
That's great.
Yeah.
Are you going to do Carbon for MXL? Yeah, I think we will at some point. We'll do Carbon XL. We've learned a lot during the development of this, and have written a bunch of lessons learned and things that we'll do on the next one. And I think, you know, for some of the reason we talked about earlier, doing a Carbon XL is a little bit easier in a lot of ways than doing this. You can use, you know, really high-end sensors like fiber optic gyros, which take a lot of the magic out of the system. You have much bigger areas to work in, and you're not as, you know, potentially you're not as worried about weight. You've got a much bigger payload, which is much easier to stabilize well, assuming you get it well balanced. So,
I mean, just from the miniaturization standpoint, it would be easier, right? I
Yeah.
imagine.
Oh, yeah.
Engineering
for
wise.
sure. I mean, even the wiring, like figuring out how to route all these wires such that everything's tucked in there and doesn't bump anything that it's not supposed to, and routes everywhere. It's just, it's really like, it's kind of like watchmaking.
The Carbon XL would be exciting.
You put one on the Expedition?
Yeah, man.
What kind of gyro sensor are you using? We're using 2 IMUs on the system. Both are MEMS. Like I said, it's just too small, and the weight requirements are too low to consider using something like a fiber optic gyro or laser ring gyro. Can it use additional filters? Do you need to rebalance? So we include filtration with the package.
What NDs do you know off the top of your head that you're including?
I don't know off the top of my head. 0.3, 0.6, 0.9, 1.2, I think.
Should be plenty.
So this is the Schneider optics, kind of, I don't know exactly what they call it, but it's like a clip-on, clamp-on, I guess. And then this piece just screws off. You put the filter in there, and away you go.
Yeah.
Super easy to change.
You should never need to stack more than you should never have to double stack when you're in those environments. You're not trying to shoot at a 3.5, you know, super shallow, you know, in these particular instances, you know.
Yep. Next question. Will there be SDI or HDMI ports to connect to a wireless system? Yes. There's HDMI that comes right out of the camera, so that's what you'll connect to. And then we route an HDMI cable on the Carbon. So what's the airframe rate Alta 8?
Milk Brenda.
What do they think they mean? What's the
Well,
airframe
I mean,
rate?
let's, the only thing I could think of is it flyable with the Alta 8? And it is. What is the, this is within the payload of the Alta 8.
Yeah, this is 19.2 pounds.
So,
So yeah, we have
absolutely.
flown at Alta 8, flies great. Airframe rate, I don't know. Maybe they want to know what your day rate is with the Alta 8.
Too much.
20K per day.
Yeah.
8-hour day.
Yeah.
8 hours.
8 hour day.
With
Wow.
a 1 hour lunch included.
Laying down the law.
OG. OG.
That's from your house.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, from my house.
Portal to portal.
Portal to portal.
Yeah.
Will
Yeah.
it work with Mimic? Yes, it will work with Mimic. It will also work with Pilot. So you
Yes.
can connect, that's one thing we didn't showcase, but
Yeah,
you can
Pilot.
connect Pilot and someone else can control zoom and focus if you want. Oh yeah.
So you can really integrate it into a professional workflow. You
Yep.
know, with the first
Actually,
AC
that,
and
that's
all
very
that.
important because for
Very
the
important.
critical focus pulling,
Yeah, it's very important.
you're going to want that
Yeah.
form factor.
Yeah, have fun
Do you
pulling your
control
own
the
focus.
ND from the MōVI controller? No, you do not. The NDs just go right in here. This screws off. You put the ND and screw it back on. Is it weatherproof? No, it's not weatherproof. I would say it's similar in weather resistance to MōVI Pro. It's just too much of a pain in the ass to weatherproof things, so, especially when
Yeah.
you're trying to watch weight. It's just almost impossible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Could you connect with a Shogun and get ProRes RAW? I don't know specifically if you can get ProRes RAW, but you can connect with a Shogun, so whatever it'll do.
Yeah,
you
so
can
you'll
do.
actually be able to output the 4K. From what we've found out is you can output 4K 60 when you need to
10-bit.
go. Yeah, 10-bit
Yep.
4K 60. But internally, you have 400 megabit, 10-bit, like 24, 25, and 30. So
Yes.
for most applications, you'll be fine. You're not going to be shooting that much slow-mo from drone, or from cable cam. You're going to be going after. You're looking for high speed. You're looking for quick shots. That's what people are going after.
400 megabit.
400 megabit internal.
Yeah,
It's
that-
ridiculous.
That's
So-
very, very, very good.
Yeah. Yes, you can do it. What's that? Yeah, very, very.
Is the
very-
video recorded in camera? Can you record externally? I think we just touched on that.
Yeah.
The GH5S has dual SD card slots, so you can record there. You could run an external recorder if you wanted to. How will support work? Will you support camera and lens? Yes. We will support the entire package. So FreeFly is your point of contact if anything goes wrong. If the GH5 breaks down or the Fuji breaks down, we'll call up our folks at Panasonic and Fuji and say, hey, we need some help. In testing, that hasn't been an issue. Both of them have been solid and reliable. They're both great companies to work with. Fuji's been very supportive and
They're
helped us a
one of
ton.
the best customer service companies. I mean, from a lens standpoint, I've never worked with a better company. Like, their support's amazing.
Didn't they just really
Yeah, I
help you
mean, we
out
had a
in,
big lens break
Europe?
in Europe, and they were on it. And I think the only way we've battle tested the crap out of those 2120s, and the only way it's going to fail is if you break it yourself, and that's probably on you. So
Yeah.
it's not manufactured there, that's for sure.
Yeah, it's been great so far.
Yeah.
What's included in the box? How big is the case? So the case is right here. And what's included is carbon, 2 batteries, the ND and UV filter kit, lens cap. What else do we got? We got this case, the shipping case. You can see how this all lays out. The ring, the batteries. Yeah, everything goes here.
That's nice.
It's got a spot for everything.
Yeah.
Spot for MōVI controller. So it's all laser cut foam.
Great foam. Yep.
And it's a relatively small case, which is nice.
Yeah.
We went a little bit overboard for a period of time with our case size. And people were pretty grouchy about it.
The,
So
the
we,
first MōVI case was
Slightly
we
large.
scrunched it back down a
Yeah.
little bit.
it was plump.
Well, I keep trying to get you to lift weights and you refuse. So what choice do I have other than to make the cases a little bit bigger?
Body blowouts.
I know. I need to get up back on my pull-up regimen.
Can you attach a rain spinner? No.
No.
No, you cannot. Click to add title. Sammer? Yes, same
Yes.
batteries as MōVI Pro. I like that you're typing it rather than using English. Did you guys get any questions that you wanted to touch on directly that were missed?
I have a
Anything
question.
else?
I have a question,
Yeah.
totally out of the blue, but would there be an option for production companies if when they pre-order to be able to have any sort of printing done on the outside, like say their company name or anything like that? Could that be a request
Sure.
with 3D printing?
You can request. I don't know what we'd say, but absolutely. Sure.
Yeah, I mean, but
You
if
want
guys,
you want your face on the side or
no,
something?
no, but like if you want your company name, you know,
Yeah.
like if you wanted to have that, is that something that you guys could provide if for an additional fee?
It's
or anything like
possible
that?
for sure.
Cool.
Yeah.
Sweet.
You want Sam's face here?
Yes.
Looking at you?
Yeah.
Sam,
Not me.
Ryan, Corey.
Yes. Amber. We're all
Amber
there.
had to go on the bottom.
Well,
Sorry,
you
Amber.
already took up the other 3. She's actually on the top if it goes on the drone.
Nope. It's still bottom.
This is upside down.
Seriously, that reminds me of like the golf stuff you've done with Taro and MōVI Pro.
Yeah.
And you could totally see like, CBS or NBC Sports.
Yeah,
or
especially when you go
somebody
on like big jobs.
I
they
like where his
wanna-
head's at. He's already got his carbon sponsored.
wanting- yeah.
Who booked the first year sponsorship?
Red
Do you
Bull.
have yours sponsored?
I'm not as savvy as
Wow.
as Klondo, so no.
Amazing.
I need
Red
to-
Bull's first up.
I need to do that.
Any more, Cindy? Did we get more in?
More. Can you attach a rain spinner? Did we answer that?
Nope. Ordering is live on the website now. We're taking a $2,000 deposit, I think, to get you in line for this thing. And then we'll be building a small quantity of them each month. So once we have an idea of how many people are going to order, we'll publish a build schedule and push that out to everybody who's ordered so you can get some idea of when your delivery will be. I don't know exactly how many we'll have ready to ship out in the next 7 days, but there'll be a handful of these ready to go.
Whoever's ready to party, get your order in.
Absolutely. What does the future of gimbals and drones look like to you?
Oh, wow.
Terrifyingly, I think it has an extinction level event within the next 15 years. So have fun with gimbals and drones while you can. Not drones, but I mean, all the stuff that's happening with cameras, over capture, post stabilization. I think there'll always be some small subset for gimbals, but I'm less optimistic about gimbals in the long run than I would have been 10 years ago, just because of how fast things are advancing. I think if you don't need long lens, there's going to be a lot of different options to capture things without really complex systems. But for drones, I think drones are still kind of finding their niches, which is really fun to watch. Obviously, like in the consumer space, I think that's pretty sorted out. Everybody and their brother has a drone and they capture all kinds of awesome shots to document their life with. That's super exciting.
Yeah.
As you kind of go up in the high-end space, people like you guys are using them to add tremendous production value to things. So that's been fun to watch. Like, back in the flying cam days when I was first starting, everything worked so poorly that you really had to like just bust your ass to add any value to a production.
If you got one, you're
Yeah.
just like partying all the way.
I mean, I remember back in the early days shooting car commercials with Hugh, and it's like, if the car went through the frame ever, that was a massive success. It was like, yes. And now people are shooting and they're like, they're nitpicking framing on the,
It's unbelievable.
You're playing
Yeah.
chicken with cars and
It's
flying 4
unbelievable.
inches off cars.
Nick
and-
is like FaceTiming with his son while he's flying the drone.
Yeah.
It's so damn easy now.
Yeah. Hey, look at this.
Hey Jake, how you doing? So I think the future, just the future in general right now is super exciting and also volatile. So everybody's got to be on their toes and figure out which way is the right way to go.
Yeah.
So even Nick, as an example, if you roll back 10 years ago, he was a sound guy, completely entrenched in sound, and probably thought his long-range future involved sound. And then, you had to pivot. You didn't have to pivot. You chose to pivot. You found something that potentially was more valuable for you to do, more interesting, more exciting. And you pivoted and became an aerial guy. I think that speaks to just the day we live in.
Yeah.
It was something that genuinely interested me more, and right at that time, that was sort of that magical time when cameras and imaging technology was getting smaller, and the helicopters and the drones were getting more capable. And now there's so many options, but kind of what the incremental progress is, it's just lower price, lower price, lower price. What really is most exciting to me about this is it's actually a true new technical capability.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So all the low-hanging fruit has been picked, fucking years ago.
Yeah.
This might enable actually some new low fruit.
Yeah.
You know, so we'll see.
There's
But that part is exciting.
Yeah.
I think what you're going to be able to get at the price point for your clients is going to be, that's the true thing, you know.
Well, I think another thing is both of you guys have managed to take new technology as it comes and use it as a tool to add value for your clients and thus add value and grow your individual businesses, you know.
100%.
I know you jump on everything super early, and some of it works great and makes you tons of money, and some of it
Others
doesn't.
blow up in your face.
Some of it doesn't
Yeah.
work, but you know,
learn.
you make those experiments
Exactly.
and take those risks and go for it.
Yeah,
and I think
100%.
you kind of have to, or you're just going to get left behind
Yeah,
in the dust.
if you wait too long, it's over. You know,
Yeah.
everyone's already saturated, or they're into that market, they're in with that client. You know, when you can offer them something new and more affordable. I mean, yeah, you can go out and get a giant gimbal, like a 6-axis gimbal, and pay $350,000 for it. Then you got to buy a camera, buy a lens. You're at $500,000. I mean, once you have a controller and have all this at under 50K, you're offering relatively the same thing to your clients at a much more affordable rate.
Yeah, I mean, the
So
progression for me
that's insane.
is astounding, because I remember actually thinking through how I was going to beg, borrow, or steal enough money to buy a Cineflex so that I could mount it under that quad I showed in the beginning.
Yeah.
And a mere 7 years ago, that seemed like a completely reasonable way to allocate $500,000. And the idea that you're going to be able to create shots similar to that, maybe not exactly the same, but in the similar vein, you know, for $50,000 total investment
Yeah.
with Alta 8 and everything, it's just nuts.
It's nuts.
It's crazy.
It is. It really is.
Dave, do you have anything you want to say about Carbon?
It's awesome.
Dave did the original mechanical design for the very first Carbon, so he might have some insight for us.
Yeah. I think it's pretty.
We got a microphone.
Give me a microphone.
Is it microphone?
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a very interesting microphone. Who's watching right now?
Just a
This
few
this
people.
mic. I don't think this micro. Is it doing something?
Yeah, it's working.
Oh, there we go. Okay. Hello, everyone. Yeah, the Carbon's great. I'm actually like, when I use it, I'm only annoyed that like I'm not good enough.
Yeah.
So
it
which
is
I think,
it is
yeah,
a true,
It's demanding. You have to practice a lot with
yeah.
it.
It is demanding. You know.
yeah, it's the machine is better than you are. I guess
MōVI
that's the
Carbon
best
better than you.
best way to. Yeah,
Yeah.
MōVI Carbon better than you.
Yeah.
Talk about, as much as you can say safely, some of the innovation. I didn't touch on, like, Dave came up with an entirely new way to actuate the camera for the inner two axes. Maybe we can't say anything more than that.
I don't. Yeah, that's good.
Okay.
Yeah, there you go.
I still remember he came back from a walk one day and he's like, I think I came up with a completely new way to do this. And I was like, oh, great.
That was that's what he said to you, huh?
Yeah.
That was
I
it
don't
a
even
walk at
remember
Burning
saying
Man,
that.
No, it was not a walk at Burning Man.
Burning Man.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, you'll see him like pacing around out in the woods, and I know there's something good is coming
Yeah.
when you see it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Brewing.
Is it-
takes
is it-
pacing.
Yeah.
Something's brewing,
Pacing's-
for sure.
pacing's solid.
Big brain.
Yeah, big
What?
brain.
Big brain.
Small head, big brain.
Big brain. Big brain dude right there.
Yeah.
Big brain dude.
Brain to skull
BBD.
ratio.
All right. Yeah.
Well, even though you want to touch on some of the details, it's a work of art. Just
I don't take compliments very well, but I appreciate it.
Yeah, you really did a good job on it. It's beautiful.
It is pretty. It's
It's a
very,
heck of a
very-
mechanism.
Yeah.
Looks good.
I'm excited to see where it goes in the future.
Oh, we've got ideas.
I want to have
Yeah.
this on a private aircraft of my own at some point in the near future.
A very unique private aircraft.
Cruise around and get awesome
Yeah.
shots.
T, this is not related to this, is
No,
it?
that's the
This is
clamp.
land shark mounting.
Oh, okay.
So this is what a not lightweight design looks like, folks, just in case you're wondering.
Yeah.
This has
Just
not
solid
this has
aluminum.
not been
Brushed
lightweighted.
aluminum.
Also known as the free fly tuning fork.
Yeah.
It actually does. If you hold it at the base, I think it
is a
does.
good
It is.
tuning fork. I heard it.
Oh yeah.
Hear it?
What's
Yeah.
the stiffness,
Sure.
Dave?
Oh, very high.
Oh, absolutely.
I'm sure we'll pick that up.
It is a tuning fork.
Any more questions come in, Cindy?
Can it go on Taro?
Yeah, it can go on Taro. It loves to go
yeah,
on Taro.
Taro's gonna be awesome for it.
Be a great use for it, actually.
How are we
Yeah.
planning to keep up with the ever-changing camera market? That's a really tough question, and I think about it a lot. And it's a tough position to be in because we've completely integrated this camera and lens. And to be honest, I don't have an exact answer about what we're going to do, but I know it's important. And what I would say on that is FreeFly is in the business of creating long-term meaningful relationships with our customers, and we make our business decisions accordingly. And there's a ton of people out there that like working with us because we make decisions in the 1-month time scale, which are aligned with our customers, the 6-month time scale, and the 100-year time scale. So all I can say is that we'll keep those principles in mind when we figure out what to do with this going forward.
That would have to be the biggest challenge, because the camera market just iterates
Yeah.
so much, and yet you have to commit to a good package at the moment.
Yeah.
And to get that level of integration, it just requires a certain amount of time commitment. And
Yep.
I think you've achieved the best balance of weight and capability and size and practicality.
Yeah, I
without-
mean, the tough thing is you do have to draw a line in the sand, and at that particular moment in time, you have to pick the things that are available, that are the best options out there.
Yeah.
And then you have to think, if we build this thing, is it going to add value in the world? Is it going to enable our customers to do shots that weren't possible before? And when we look at this, we think the answer is yes.
Yeah.
And for me, it's about, will this product add value for our customers? Will it allow them to make money? And I think a lot of times I think about FreeFly, and it seems like people love this company to an unreasonable degree. And I'm like, I don't know why people love it quite so much. But I mean, I love it, but it's obvious why I love it. And I think part of the reason why people love it so much is because we have created more value for the cinema industry than we have captured. And you might have to think about that to have it make sense. But FreeFly has made more money for the cinema industry, for the individual contributors like
Yeah,
Corey and Nick,
100%.
than we have made ourselves. And so when you keep that ratio like that, it creates happy customers.
Absolutely. You know, I was just flying back from a job, and I collect all my trade magazines, the SOC and the ICG. I keep them for reading on the airplane. And now every issue you read something about a MōVI shot or a MōVI operator or a drone shot that was captured with a MōVI. It's become a true part of the cinema workflow.
Yeah.
And it's added tremendous value.
One side question about that. So when you carry those magazines, do you actually do that, or is there a PA that does that for you? Because I just can't envision you carrying your own magazines on an airplane.
I carry my own.
Wow.
Really? Wow.
You believe that?
I think so.
I put my shirts on one leg at a time.
All right. Any other? Click to add title. We're done. That's it. We're done, folks.
That's it?
Just remind people what the deposit page is open.
Yeah. Web store is open. If you want a carbon, go to freeflysystems.com and buy a carbon, and we'll ship one to you, and you'll love it.
First deposit came in.
First deposit just came in. Was it you, Cindy?
Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and expense that.
She's sneaky like that.
Yeah.
She's like, I got to create a little momentum. Let's go. All right. Just want to say thanks to Corey. Do you guys have any shout outs you want to do?
No
I don't
shout outs.
Check out Nick's Instagram. Check out Motion State's Instagram. They both do awesome work. Check out Dave's Instagram.
Yeah. That's way more fun.
His is compelling. But what really is amazing here is this is kind of a fun dichotomy here between the ecosystem of
Yeah.
FreeFly. Now you really have captured.
We can't figure out what kind of company we are. Do we build iPhone
I
gimbals?
think it's great.
Do we build 5-axis gimbals? We're not sure. Also, check out Amber's Instagram, Corey's wife. She just went on an epic vacation. Can you show her? Epic vacation with Granby, and has all kinds of awesome shots.
It is Granby. It's Granby.
No, I can get shots.
Yeah, she got shots on it. We just got back from the Tour de France, and she with the little MōVI, iPhone MōVI, she got shots that were on prime time with that. Like, I'm out there at the big MōVI, sweating and dying. She's like, well, I'm just gonna roll around with the iPhone MōVI, and they used her shots over my shots. So that was.
This is an inflection point.
This is,
She's cruising around in designer clothes while he's wearing weird, like MōVI op clothes.
Yeah.
And they took her shots with the little MōVI.
yeah.
Wow.
They much prefer those.
Sign of the
guys.
times.
Sign of the times.
Well,
So-
they looked great.
They looked great.
They looked great. They look good. Good job, by the way. Good operating.
What else? What else do we have to say? That's it, I think.
Yeah.
Thank you for tuning in to this epically long
It
live
was
today.
long as a mofo.
Oh my God, it's 12:30.
Yeah.
What time is? Okay.
it
Well,
lunch?
no, we're right
Hour
on
and a
track.
half.
We're right on
that-
track.
was that
This
on
is
track?
exactly how Cindy planned it.
Oh, right.
I didn't even read that thing you wrote, by the way, Cindy.
I didn't think you would. It was for everything else.
Okay, we're out of here. Thanks everybody for tuning
Bye,
in.
everyone.
Later.
Oh, one more thing.
Oh.
If you want to get hands-on with Carbon, just come visit. We'll take you on the X5. I don't know if we'll let you ride the Landshark, but if you seem competent, maybe we will. We'll let you play with it. We'll fly with an Alta if people want to check
Good
them out.
time of year to come up Northwest.
Oh,
It's the
yeah.
best time of year. So.
Actually,
Absolutely.
It is. It is.
Great. Thanks for tuning in, everybody.
Cool.
See you later.
Cool.
It's terrifying.